Hello, dear aspirants. I am Akriti Kanchi, your mentor from Prep IS, and I'm trying to help you read newspaper in UPSC relevant manner. Today is 6th May, and we are ready with must-read articles for 6th May. Last 3-4 days, we have not been able to release the video, but we'll surely release the highlighted PDF of the newspaper. Okay, so please attend today's video, which has several important articles, and even previous day important articles have been covered today properly. Okay, so 6th May, lot of articles, very important from mains and prelims point of view. Also keep the UPSC syllabus on side while listening to this video, because I'll keep mentioning the syllabus and the topic of the syllabus while discussing articles. Okay, so let's start with 6th May. Okay, so this article in the front page. So in the context of Pahalgam attack, the India-Pakistan relations have become very bad, and the tensions are too high, right? So in that case, center has directed states to hold civil defense drills. Okay, this comes under GS paper 3, security challenges in their management and border areas. So though these drills are for countrywide practice, but still the more urgent requirement is there on the border and major cities. Okay, so countrywide exercise to include air raid sirens and evacuation plans drill to begin tomorrow from 7th of May till Friday amid escalating tension between India and Pakistan. Okay, so what all things they are trying to include: operationalizing air raid warning signs. Used to prepare the public that some threat is happening around. Crash blackout measures similar to that conducted in Firozpur of Punjab. State asked to undertake cleaning of bunkers and trenches prevalent in the border villages, which can help people to hide themselves in the case of bomb attacks. Okay, so the Union Home Ministry has asked the state to conduct drill up to village level in 244 categorized district by operationalizing air raid warning, crash blackout measures, evacuation plans, camouflaging vital installations, establishing hotline with the Indian Air Force, training civilians in various aspects. So Directorate General of Civil Defense under the ministry wrote to the chief secretaries of all states to organize a civil defense. So all chief secretaries have gotten the message from Directorate General of Civil Defense. The states have been asked to activate control rooms, firefighting and warden services, and undertake cleaning of bunkers and trenches in the border villages. Okay, so the mock drills will be conducted countrywide, and in this context, Russian President Putin has shown support to our honorable PM that they will support us in the fight against terror. And please note, the relations between India and Russia is a strategic relationship. Okay, let's move to the next article. This article is about judiciary. Inquiry panel files report on cash find at judge's house. This comes under GS paper 2, judiciary's functioning. Okay, so a 3-member in-house inquiry committee probing the circumstances leading to the discovery of half-burnt currency notes was found at the Delhi High Court's Justice Verma's residence, who is the judge in the Delhi High Court. So this inquiry committee was set by Chief Justice of India Sanjeev Khanna. Okay, so this was a famous incident which happened in March. So committee was constituted by CJI for in-depth consideration of the allegations, that is it right or not. So right now CJI has 3 options. First is where they can register an FIR. He can agree for the registration of an FIR and setting criminal action against the judge into motion, or he can refer the report to Parliament for removal of the judge in case of incriminating evidence, that is impeachment. Third is drop the allegation if nothing serious was found against the judge. Okay, so this was a famous case where jale hue notes bore mein band karke in his residence it was found. Okay, let's move to the next article. We'll directly go to the editorial pages. Lot of news are happening around caste census in this water treaty. There's also an article on AI and how it is using a lot of electricity. Okay, and that's why how those one should provide an alternate backup for sustainable kind of electricity for artificial intelligence. So let's start with let's continue with the editorial page. Okay, so the messaging from putting the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. Okay, so this has happened in the background of India, Pakistan, and Pahalgam attack. So JS paper 2, India-Pakistan relation, Indus Water Treaty 1960. Okay, the messaging from putting IWT in abeyance. So the term abeyance finds no legal recognition under the Indus Water Treaty or the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties 1969. So there is a treaty on this Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties 1969. India is not a party, while Pakistan has signed but has not ratified. So this Vienna Convention, Law of Treaties, Articles 60, 61 and 62 permit suspension of a treaty in case there is a material breach or a fundamental change in circumstances, which the writers are checking whether there was a breach or whether there was a change of fundamental circumstances. Okay, so India can temporarily refuse to carry out all joint mechanisms necessary for the treaty's operation. India can choose not to share the data on the water resource development projects like on the western rivers, that is Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, and hydrological data crucial for flood forecasting and planning for irrigation, hydropower and drinking water in Pakistan. Okay, so these all can be halted by India. Okay, so this Article 60 of Vienna Convention Law of Treaties allows for the termination in case of material breach, as we read, and Article 62 permits in the case of change in circumstances. Okay, so that is what is discussed here. Pakistan is quite a failing state, and by invoking abeyance, India may buy time to pursue our domestic goals like advancing water infrastructure projects in western and eastern rivers like Kishan Ganga, Baglihar, Ratle hydel projects, which had been delayed because of Pakistan's objection again and again. Okay, so Kishan Ganga and Baglihar were eventually resolved, but Tulbul navigation and Ratle still is uncertain because of Pakistan's obstruction again and again. Parliamentary Standing Committee of India has in 2021 has also talked about India should utilize the allocated resource to the critical inflection point. Okay, so what can be the implication on globals? What will be the implication of Indus Water Treaty put in abeyance? One is the global implication. Okay, where while unilaterally violating, India can face some case in Permanent Court of Arbitration or International Court of Justice, and domestically we can balance how to make sure that we are also working on national security as well as ecological prudence. So the rush to fast track water infrastructure projects to strengthen India's water rights risk bypassing essential public and so if you want to increase the water infrastructure, we have to make sure that we are not doing it on the cost of ecology, because that area is very prone to earthquake. It's a sensitive seismic zone regions, so it needs a lot of survey. Okay, so that shouldn't be bypassed to build a water infrastructure as soon as possible, right? So we need to balance national security as well as ecological prudence. That's what this article is talking about, because those areas are biodiversity rich and seismically sensitive Indus Basin. As we know, the regions close to Himalayas are very much prone to earthquake and are seismically active regions. Okay, so actions taken must reflect strategic foresight, aiming to pressure Pakistan into re-evaluating its stance on cross-border terrorism. Let's move to the next article. This is about caste census. Caste of characters. This comes under GS paper 2. There's another article also in this on this topic in text and context page, so please stay connected here. Government policies and interventions for development in various sectors. First time caste census was taken in 1931, okay, by Risley. Okay, so first time since 1931 census forms will record the caste of Indians. So the government at center, BJP, has announced that there will be a caste census. It will happen first time after 1931. Okay, so decadal censuses still now has categorized citizens as SCs, STs and as per religions, but overall all the other the details of caste have not been taken. All the caste within SCs, STs, OBCs, that has not been taken. So there are concerns which community or individuals. So there have been concern that within SCs, a lot of castes have been marginalized and some castes have taken the advantage very well. So that is why there has been concerns about which individuals will actually access the benefits. There is a demand for creamy layer in SCs and STs, and that's why Supreme Court of India allowed for sub-categorization within SCs and STs, and recently Telangana has also brought the sub-categorization, okay. And Justice G. Rohini Commission in 2023 finished a study to examine sub-categorization within OBCs also. So sub-categorization within SCs and STs was allowed by Supreme Court. Okay, please keep this in mind. So, but there are certain issue before this caste census happens, that what caste is. There's no real, there's a lot of, confusion between that, difference between a subcaste and a caste, and how to understand the caste names and, linguistic and regional varieties of caste, right? So, the gap in understanding caste was reflected in Socioeconomic Caste Census of 2011 also. So the decision to enumerate caste can also be an opportunity to arrive at consensus on these questions, and center should try to build consensus in this area. Okay, let's move to the next article. This article is very important. On the side, Maritime Hub, GS Paper 3, Infrastructure Ports. The Commission of Vizhinjam International Transshipment Deep Water Multipurpose Seaport. So India lagged quality ports. Okay, so Vizhinjam International Transshipment Deep Water Multipurpose Seaport is built by public-private partnership between Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited and Kerala government. Also, center has also given some funds here. Okay, so there's a lot of issue with India's ports infrastructure. India relies heavily on foreign ports. In spite of having 7,500 kilometers of coast, we rely on foreign ports for handling around 75% of its inbound and outbound transshipment cargo, and that's why we suffer annual revenue loss of $200 million to $220 million. So these are certain issues. You can write what are the issues with ports. These are the issues that would depend on foreign ports for 75% of our handling of our inbound and outbound transshipment cargo. We face this much of revenue loss. Okay, so this Vizhinjam International Transshipment Deep Water multi-port is a multi-purpose seaport. It has a natural draft of 20 meters, so it will not require much of dredging, and it can act as a transshipment hub. Okay, so it will bring home a significant portion of Indian cargo transshipment handled by Singapore, Colombo, Sala and Dubai airports. Okay, so as India's first semi-automated port equipped with remote controlled quay cranes and AI-powered vessels traffic management systems, Vizhinjam will significantly reduce vessel turnaround time. So vessel turnaround time will reduce. Right now, India's container throughout capacity last year was 20 million 20-foot equivalent units. China's was 330. Okay, so China was far ahead of us in this area. Right, so we need to. So Vizhinjam will help reduce vessel turnaround times. Right. Also, Vizhinjam will be an all-weather port to become a game changer in South Asia's maritime, trade. Okay, so this is an important, and it will also have warehousing, logistics, and industrial facilities. It should be very well connected with the hinterland of South India through rail and roadways. That government needs to make sure of. Let's move to the next article. So all the articles are important on editorial page today. Mostly there is always one or two or three. Today, after a long time, we have all the 4 articles important. Redrawing the not so pretty energy footprint of AI. So we have read several times that though AI is fun, ChatGPT is giving good results, but it is extremely energy intensive. This comes under GS Paper 3, Energy AI Aspect. So ChatGPT 4o can generate a Studio Ghibli inspired portrait which was viral right now in social media, but it comes at a significant energy cost. Okay, so it leads to several graphic processing units were melting because of so much of heat and energy use, and this leads to a lot of environmental impact. So how will sustainable energy replace this unsustainable energy that is fueling AI? Okay, so one of the solution these writers are giving us small modular reactors, which is also mentioned in our economic survey. Small modular reactors which is less than 300 megawatts. Okay, so every time one uses ChatGPT or any other tool, a data center chugging electricity is using electricity coming from fossil fuels. Okay, so it has been told by Sam Altman, who is CEO of OpenAI. So projections indicate that these data centers could account for 10% of world's total electricity usage by 2030. By 2030, the electricity that AI will be using will be 10% of all the electricity, which will be a huge amount, okay? So training an AI model, it is written that tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney will release same amount of CO2 as 5 cars running continuously through entire life. So you can imagine how unsustainable it is going to be from energy point of view. Okay, so they are suggesting small modular reactor, which will present a transformative opportunity. Why transformative opportunity? Because it has several benefits. Firstly, it will provide 24/7 zero carbon based on electricity, makes them an ideal alternative, unlike renewable energy of solar and wind, because of which a blackout happened in Spain and Portugal. Okay, so that will not be there. Modular construction reduces construction time and cost. So it is very compact in nature, so construction time is less. Okay, faster deployment is there. Safety features is enhanced in small modular reactors compared to nuclear energy. Decentralization of energy production, reducing transmission losses. Okay, so substantial upfront investment as the technology is still maturing and may face issues of cost competitiveness. Okay, so this can be the issue. Cost competitiveness is required. So in case of India, cost of electricity from SMRs is predicted to fall between 10.3 to 5 rupee per kilowatt hour. Okay, so a lot of benefits of small modular reactors mentioned in the article. Let's move to the next article. Another article on energy. Very good article from prelims point of view. Extremely good article. Okay, hydrogen versus battery. The cost of clean public transport. Okay, so this is important from GS paper 3 energy point of view, also prelims fact. So there can be comparison between battery, battery charged battery charged vehicles and hydrogen fueled vehicles. So which one is better, which is more expensive? This comparison is done in this article. Very important. Okay, so this article is saying that nearly 7 in 10 people in developing countries are expected to be living in cities. So urbanization is happening. 70% people will be there in cities. Okay, so urban growth will provide a lot of opportunities, but there will be a lot of requirement of energy and fuels. Okay, so Lancet study reports if the energy is not coming from cleaner areas. So between 2008 to 2019, because of PM 2.5 particles, there has been nearly 30,000 deaths in 10 major cities. Okay, that is 7.2% of all deaths. You can see the graph here. The maximum number of deaths was in Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Ahmedabad. Okay, so not a very good thing. So many cities like Cairo, Bogota are exploring cleaner transport options. They are moving to electric vehicles. Electric vehicle market is increasing exponentially. By 2023, there were 40 million electric cars on the world's roads, 40 million cars. By 2023, 35% rise from previous year. You can use this data. These data are from World Bank blogs, Lancet and International Energy Agency's Global EV Outlook. You can completely and very confidently use this data in your answers, especially people who are also preparing from mains point of view. So there's a comparison between battery electric vehicles, which is BEVs, and fuel cell electric vehicles, which is FCEVs. Okay, so they are providing a healthy, not a healthy, but a more sustainable alternative. Okay, so what are the benefits of fuel cell? So it has longer driving range due to higher energy density compared to battery cell. So this hydrogen cell or fuel cell will have longer driving range. It can refuel in very small time, that is 5 to 15 minutes, and they're generally lighter. Okay, so it is good for long distance travel. And FCEVs, that is fuel cell energy vehicles, electric vehicles, it is still lesser than battery charged electric vehicles. Okay, that is what is written here, right? So diesel buses will cost about $0.27 per kilometer. Electricity buses are quite cheap. That is the benefit of battery fuel electricity buses, very economical, though their upfront cost is high, but then the operational cost is less of battery vehicle. But in the case of hydrogen fuel cell buses, the upfront cost is also high, and later on the operational costs are also high, because hydrogen fuel is not generated in a very sustainable or in a very hydrogen fuel is being created in a very expensive manner. That's why fuel will be expensive, so operational cost will be really high. So the operational costs are expected to remain high in fuel cell electric vehicles, that is the hydrogen cell fuel vehicles. So that is written. So adoption of adoption of electric vehicles are going to increase enormously. In India, the most rapid growth was in three-wheeler segment, that we can see around e-rickshaws. Okay, so 60% of global electric three-wheelers are in India, and India also ranks as the world's second largest market for electric two-wheelers. You can use this article's data. It surely will be useful in a lot of, even in essay or even in environment related answers. The implication of caste enumeration, government policies and intervention. This comes under GS paper 2, government policies and intervention for development in various sectors. So it is talking about the history of caste census. You can see it quickly. I've highlighted the important part, not the entire article is important. So first, colonial census, not the caste census. The colonial census was done in 1872. Okay. So caste census was done by H.H. Risley. Remember this name, okay? So first caste census was done by him. So the entire history they are talking about: Government of India Act 1935, Indian Constitution. They did give dignity and equality to Dalits and Adivasis, and but OBCs were not taken, were talked about in Constitution. So later on in 1953, Kaka Kelkar Commission was established to identify OBC. The first commission to talk about OBC was in 1953, Kaka Kelkar. Remember from prelims point of view also. In 1955 report, he highlighted, the Kaka Kelkar Commission highlighted 2,300 communities. Later, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia also articulated his vision in his Ram Manohar Lohia Rachnavali. So if this comes in prelims, Rachnavali's book, whose book? It is Ram Manohar Lohia. It is compilation of work of Ram Manohar Lohia. And after Kaka Kelkar in 1953, there was the famous Mandal Commission 1980 report, which recommended 27% reservation in OBC in central government and educational institute. It was partially implemented in VP Singh, but later on it was properly implemented. Okay. Again, between Kaka Kelkar and Mandal Commission, there was one more commission. It can come in prelims. Mungeri Lal Commission was set up by former Bihar Chief Minister Karpuri Thakur in Bihar. Okay, so the implementation of Mandal Commission report has significantly changed the contours of OBC politics, right? So the new census with caste, so you should know these names, okay? H.H. Risley, Kaka Kelkar, Ram Manohar Lohia's Rachnavali, Mandal Commission, Mungeri Lal Commission of Bihar Chief Minister Karpuri Thakur in Bihar. So all these names you should know. So this new census can create a window of opportunity for inclusion of the most marginalized section. Okay, the next article is talking about the Foundation Day of Maharashtra. So you can read in some highlighted part in this article. So Gandhian promise was there of linguistic reorganization of states, which was not fulfilled after even a lot of committees was formed, like JVP, Fazal Ali Commission, Dhar Commission. None of them gave Maharashtra its right to the entire state, but it came along after state reorganization commission happened. Okay, so the entire history of the Maharashtra Maharashtra State Commission has been talked about here, right? So end of this linguistic cultural movement was reached when? On May 1, 1960. So May 1, 1960 was the foundation day of state of Maharashtra. Okay, Ambedkar also talked, supported this in his books, States and Minorities, Needs for Checks and Balances, Thoughts on Linguistic State. These three books are of Ambedkar, again important from prelims point of view. Let's move to the next article. So we know this is happening post-Indus Treaty. Hold India resorts to untimely release of water from J&K dams on Chenab River. GS paper 2, India-Pakistan relations. So you should know Baglihar and Salal dams on which river? Chenab River. Baglihar, Salal dams is in Jammu and Kashmir in Chenab River, and this is government's first consequential water-based action taken by India. Okay, and to keep the Indus Water Treaty, this is called flushing the reservoir. This is normally done by government in the August month, but this time they did it in now, and you know why this is happening? To give some signals that we will take action. Okay, another just news that you can see, that increase in tensions, India-Pakistan tension could impair Pakistan's access to external financing, says Moody's agency. Okay, Moody's agency is a rating agency. So this another article, government online companies spar in Supreme Court over GST on games of skill and chance. So this is ongoing case. Okay, so I'm not written the topics of the syllabus because this is a case which is ongoing, and some final verdict by Supreme Court will come later. Right now, government and the gaming companies are they're giving their opinions and arguments to support their point of view in Supreme Court. Let's see what Supreme Court brings out later on. Okay. So this is an important article. At WTO, US queries India's PLI scheme for specialty steel. So for specialty steel, this comes under JS paper 2, WTO international trade. Okay, so US is behind this tariff thing, and also they don't want us to subsidize much. Okay, so our PLI scheme aims to reduce imports of high grade steel so that India can be self-sufficient. Okay. But even though India still not till now is a net importer in financial year 2025 for the second year, so the US has questioned India's PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme for specialty steel. Okay, suggesting that subsidies may not be appropriate given the global overcapacities in steel. Okay, so specialty steel is one of the 14 sectors in which government is giving this flagship production linked incentive schemes. Okay, the purpose of this PLI schemes to boost domestic manufacturing, attract global investment, and create employments. Okay, in the identified sector, despite being the world's second largest producer of steel, India lags in production of specialty and high-end steel and is dependent on imports. Okay. Okay, so compared with countries like China with estimated steel, so China give even more higher subsidies than India. Let's move to the next article. The last article on the science page. The science page has a very important article for people who live in forest, which we call scheduled tribe. In world it is called sometimes indigenous people. We generally call them in India they are forest. So India's Forest Rights Act stand apart from exclusionary laws globally. So India's Forest Rights Act is one of the best and advanced, which give very much good rights to the people living there. So most of the world's biodiverse regions are in place. Indigenous communities have traditionally lived and governed. They have indigenous people have governed this biodiversity, okay, and nurtured it. So we have to secure their tenure and recognize their rights. Okay, so this article has talked about a lot of governance. This is the fortress conservation model of Britishers or colonial model, in which they think that indigenous people harm the forest, but that is not the case. Indigenous people live very much in good complementarity with the forests. Okay, so like Maasai and Ogiek in Kenya, Bathwa in Uganda, Adivasis in India. So they are called IPLCs, which is indigenous people and local communities. IPLCs in short form. Okay, so Convention on Biological Diversity was formed in 1992 CBD framework for the conservation, sustainable use, and fair and equitable sharing of biodiversity with the people there. India is one of the world's 17 mega diverse countries and is signatory to CBD. Okay, we also have Biological Diversity Act 2002, on which a mains question had come in 2018. It has a 3-tier institutional system: national, state, and biodiversity management committee at local level. Okay, India has also brought Wildlife Protection Act, Project Tiger. In 2006, we have passed Forest Rights Act, one of the most important acts. It's a critical turning point in Indian legislation. Okay, and it gives rights to forest dwellers. That's very important point. Okay, so you can read this entire article, very important. So IPLCs have been campaigning to have their own rights under UNFCCC. Since 1992, Convention of Biological Diversity has spoken about their rights. They have also mentioned here about Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which you should know, which was passed in 2020-22 in Canada. Okay. 2022 in Canada, India, and in 2007, the UN passed its declaration on the rights of indigenous people to address their discrimination, and India has voted in favor of this declaration in 2007. Okay, the constitution also has provision for scheduled and tribal areas under Article 244 and 244A. The 2011 census reported Adivasis, that is ST population, around 8.6%. PESA Act 1996 also, that is a provision of Panchayat for an FRA 2006 helps give right to indigenous people and scheduled tribes, right? So this is an important article. I would ask you to read this entire article. It talks about CBDs, Convention on Biodiversity Summit, and there is this new, India has also come up with list of 23 targets under its updated National Biodiversity strategy and action plan that it's aimed to achieve by 2030. So there is a target called 30 by 30. Okay, read this entire article. So this Kunming Montreal this framework makes provision to move beyond protected areas and called OECM, that is other effective area-based conservation measures. So not just through protected areas, but other conservation measures we should focus on, right? So Union Ministry of Tribal Affairs stressed in its response to the biodiversity rules, and instead of creating new mechanisms to manage resources, we should combine them with the Gram Sabha-led community forest resource, which is there in our Forest Right Acts of 2006. Read the entire article, important article. Last article of the day, Spain blackout highlights the grid challenge for renewables. This comes under GS paper 3, energy. So there is one of the challenges of renewable energy, that there is not a constant supply of it, okay, because solar can be supplied in the day but not at night, similar of the wind energy. So wind can come and not. So that's why there was a blackout, because of the problems in the challenge for power grids, okay. So this was one of the examples that you can give while quoting the limitations of renewable energy, the blackout in Spain and Portugal. That's it for 6th May. Thank you.